Welcome, episode 18. I had to look. Wow,
Ooh,
18, Clarenda.
good for
Is that a
you.
lucky number for you?
We'll say it is today.
Maybe. Okay, so episode 18 of the Soul's Kitchen podcast. I'm here with Clarenda Price of Clarenda's Empowerment Coaching and actually so much more. Clarenda, you also have a podcast too,
Yes.
Feel Light, Mind and Body. Sorry, I just keep
Mhm.
looking at my notes there because my memory these days. And Clarenda, you're also so much more. You're a former nurse, and I know your whole life has been about health and wellness. And so here on the Soul's Kitchen podcast, I have conversations with people who are living their soul's desire or purpose. So
Mm, I love it.
thank you for joining me today. So we want to hear your story of how
Well,
you came to be Clarenda's Empowerment Coaching.
we're all so unique. So I love how you're
Yeah,
saying that and why you're doing this, Lisa. So, first of all,
thank
thank
you.
you for having me
I
on.
appreciate that.
And if we can even begin to recreate the conversation, which we won't,
Yes,
we'll do something different that we had over coffee. Like
I
I
know.
left, didn't you leave feeling
Yeah,
full?
I
Like,
did.
yeah, we had a
And
great
and
breakfast
that's
and coffee, but
part of the reason why I'm doing these conversations. I
mm,
want to hear people's stories. I think it's important, especially in our
yes.
community and now and what people are doing. Um,
Mhm.
I don't know, who's watching, but you never know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even if it helps one person, right?
Right. And
Yeah.
even though I may have like more podcast episodes, you're inspiring me to do more
Oh,
interview style as well.
well,
So
thank
because
you.
there's
Yeah.
for me on my end, there's just so more of a tech part of it. And I always like to
Yeah.
say I'm a little bit short circuit in my tech ability,
Yes.
but I have a
Yeah.
growth mindset, so I keep going.
Well,
Okay.
y yes, tell us well, your podcast is great, but however you're doing it. But yes, tell us, I don't know where you wanna start, at the beginning? I know you were a nurse. I
Yeah.
guess you're still a nurse.
No,
Yes, or
well,
no,
I'm a retired nurse
you're a
now.
retired nurse. Okay.
Yes.
Alright.
So I would have to go back to
Yeah.
when I was probably 8, 9, 10 years old.
Mm.
Mm, it's really
Okay, I
come
love that.
my inspiration is from what I didn't like,
Mm.
what I ached as a kid for to try to help and change. I'm gonna get teary. But
Oh, that's
but
okay.
I watched my mom struggle
Mm.
big time with her weight, and it
Okay.
wasn't just physical weight. It was the emotional weight, the roller
Mm.
coasters, all of the cabbage diets, the banana diets, like, literally, I could
Mm.
go back and through all of the different things that she's done, grapefruit diet as well,
Yeah, I
and
remember
with
that one.
that, the mood swings, like, everything that would
Mhm.
happen, and then just watching the dynamics between my dad wanting to support her, but being concerned for her, and
Mhm.
I won't go into it. There's just so much more that happened through my teen years, but that was part of me trying to be a people pleaser and trying to make
Mm.
everything work well at home and not stress mom out because she was so stressed out, and
Mhm.
so I just didn't know how to fix it as a kid, so I would fix
Mm.
it by people pleasing, just making sure I was the perfect little girl.
Mhm.
And so as I went into high school, I remember I think it was phys ed class, and we had the classroom component, and we were learning about the muscles and the organs and mostly the muscles and, the bones, and I was fascinated by
Okay.
it. And so that was my first kinda tweak that I know I wanna do something with the body, and
Right.
learned a little bit about the health, and I was trying to come home and share it with mom because, she'd done Weight Watchers, and she just tried everything
Mhm.
going, and it was always just a quick fix or a temporary fix, and it would come
Mm.
back. So then, I remember going to university. I didn't know exactly what area. I just knew I wanted to help people, and I
Mhm.
knew I wanted to be in the health field, but I didn't really know, and I was scared of wasting, the money going. So I
Mm.
took a year of science first and just explored. So I remember thinking about physiotherapy and, nursing was from what was it, like a 2020 episode? My friend and I, we were watching.
Yeah.
And what appealed to us is the diversity, like how many areas you could go, the options that we
Mm,
could
that's
have as
true.
a nurse,
Yeah.
not just one area. So I thought, well, that's safe because if I change my mind or I don't like one area, I can always move to another.
Mhm,
So
mhm.
I did. I did the 4 years of nursing, when I graduated, I worked in orthopedics, psychiatry, some surgery, and then the ER. That was my favorite of all.
Wow. Really?
Yeah. So
Oh my goodness.
ER, I was able to do, all things. So that really, but it was really hard on my feet. I got plantar fasciitis. My
Mm.
doctor said, Clarenda, you need to get out of there. So from
Oh,
there, I moved to the university because I'd been instructing nursing students throughout that time as well.
okay.
So my last 13 years, I was at the university clinic, but also instructing at the hospital with the
Oh,
students.
wow.
So I remember it was on a lunch hour and I was running, and it was my 35th birthday, so 20 years ago.
Mm.
And I was thinking, what haven't I done? Like I was contented, but yet I was discontented. When you
Mhm.
start to get that nudge, like there's
Mm, mhm,
something else I'm supposed to be doing. How else can I help? And I was really
mhm.
frustrated with not being able to do as much preventative help as I wanted to. And
Right.
one of the reasons I went to the university is I thought, oh, good, I'll be able to teach students early, about their
Mm,
health. But instead, we were still the time wise, right, with
mhm.
cutbacks and everything. It was medications, medications. And I
I
could
was
see
gonna say
these
you probably had to stick to the
kids.
program of whatever they wanted,
Yeah,
and there was no preventative
right.
health in yeah.
Well, we would do some
A
teaching,
little
whatever
bit?
we could. Like, as I'm putting the blood pressure cuff on, I'm trying to talk to them about blood pressure and all of that. Because we were
Mm,
giving medications to kids, girls and guys,
mhm,
that I knew if I could help them lose weight, if we could get the weight
mhm,
off, they probably wouldn't need this blood pressure medication. So
mhm,
that was that area. So what I ended up doing is going into personal training. So I went part-time nursing
mhm.
and did part-time personal training. And I'm curious, I'm going to go on a tangent for a second. Is that where you and I first met? Is when we were
Well,
teaching at Kingswood,
it
or was
was.
it at your, because I was trying to think. I think that came first, and then I found you at your restaurant, or I supported you at the Cedar Tree.
Yes. I'm very bad with timelines, but I do know that we did meet at Kingswood first, 'cause
Okay.
I think I was teaching yoga and I was going there, and you would have been teaching fitness classes,
Yes, I
and
was
I
doing
and go
classes and boot camp style mostly.
yeah, and I went to your classes. I think
That's
that's where we met. I think
right.
that's where we first met,
Okay.
and then you
Okay.
probably started coming to the restaurant.
Right. Okay.
The
That's what I
restaurant
thought
was
too.
between 2009 and 2014. That timeline I
Yes.
have, but
Okay.
before and after that,
Okay. We would have met before that
or
then.
before that, okay.
Yeah. So
Yes,
that's crazy.
that's
And then
yeah.
another thing I wanna just say to all women, we don't see each other very often, right, at all,
Mhm,
but when we
mhm,
did get together, it's like nothing has changed, and I think
mm,
that's such a beautiful thing that maybe men have it as well, but I notice that in women, if we're having meaningful connections, if we're having
mhm,
meaningful conversations compared to just
mhm.
like, I'm not a superficial girl where I can just chit chat, that drains me.
Right, I feel the same. So,
Yeah, yeah.
it
So, I'll come
it
back. I go on tangents
okay,
sometimes.
that's alright. No, I like that.
So, yeah, after, doing the personal training, so I was able to that fulfilled. I felt like
Mm,
this is what I'm supposed to do on the side, and I was able to teach through my classes. I would add
mhm,
in value. I always, especially
mhm,
when I did the 6 a.m. morning classes, I was able
okay.
to add in more stretches, but more gratitude, more just love of
Mm,
nature and appreciation, and I would always have something I wanted to empower and inspire. It wasn't just about the body. I wanted to bring in the heart and the mind. So
mhm,
as I was doing that, and my clients would get when I was doing, especially the one-on-one ones,
mhm,
getting great results. But
mm,
there's all when we find a problem, then it
mhm,
takes us to the next solution. So I had to think, why is it that they're getting such results, but from the exercise,
mhm,
but then when life happens. So it
mhm,
can be positive and negative things. So it could be, a job promotion, and then suddenly
mhm,
your workload, you're so engulfed in
mhm,
your work, you don't have time to work out, or it's a vacation
mhm,
and you're having a great time, but it's kind of that all not or nothing thinking that our
mhm,
brain does, like
mhm,
dichotomy. And then they'd stop and they'd come back, and there'd be that rebound effect, which is hard on
mhm,
us emotionally. Like,
mhm,
I think it's really hard on us, and it's hard on our self-confidence. So,
mhm.
like the true self-confidence. And the other part is if someone got sick or got injured, I
Right.
would see the rebound. So I'm like, okay, there is a missing piece here.
Mm,
We need to, like, mindset is so out there everywhere. but there's pseudo mindset. Like there's just a
Mhm.
very superficial mindset that's quite mainstream, but then there's a deeper mindset.
Mhm.
And that comes from inner. That's the inner inspiration rather than relying on the outer motivation. Because motivation
Yes.
is dependent on external, usually.
Right.
Inspiration comes from
Um,
living in your values, knowing your values,
right.
which health is a high value for me. So even when I don't feel like doing something or I want something else, if I can just pause and check
Mm.
in and come back, what is it that I value most? Yes, I can have it
Mhm.
now. Yes, I'll enjoy it now. But what about my future, Clarenda? What about the person in the
Mm.
morning? What is she going to wish you had done? So one of my things I say to people is, are you willing to feel a little uncomfortable now so you can feel
Mhm.
more comfortable later? And just those kind of empowering things that can help shift, just those gentle shifts. So
Yes.
I created a program. I invested big time in a coaching program that would give me life coaching as well as weight coaching. And I'll come back to
Okay.
at some point the first experience with life coaching and how something that could be a negative ended up being a very positive thing in my life.
Okay.
I'll come back to that.
Okay.
But so I developed a program, Feel Light, Mind and Body,
Mm.
because that's what I want it to be about, is how we feel the lightness rather than
Mhm.
feel the heaviness that, remember, my mom, I witnessed her
Mhm.
feeling all those years. Which, by the way, I had my mom on a podcast with me, and even with
Oh,
dementia,
yeah?
took a ton of editing. But she shares part of her experience about being
Oh,
95 pounds when she got married, because she's like 4'10" or 4'11,
okay.
going up to 210 pounds. So
Okay.
we share. It's a little. I got a little bit emotional on that one as well. But
Okay, I wanna go see that one.
oh,
That's amazing.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, that's why I developed the program so that people can, if you're already exercising, you absolutely can continue exercising. But for
Mhm.
those who maybe shouldn't be exercising much because they're
Mhm.
full of inflammation, they have joint problems right now,
Mhm.
or it's just too overwhelming to try to change everything,
Mhm.
both fit in here. So, one of my classmates I graduated with lost 70 pounds without exercising. And why she joined is she said, I saw that you said, I don't have to exercise. So then once we get some of that
Mm.
off and she was no longer, a candidate for gastro bypass, then I was encouraging her to add in exercise.
Exercise.
Let's get going.
Okay.
So yes, move more, but there's a time and a place too for exercise. If I have to choose, I'm going to choose that you're going to learn and practice and integrate till it just becomes
Mm.
part of your identity, part of who you are, the mindset and the
Right.
nutrition.
And because I keep thinking this quote, I think it was back at Kingswood with Richard St. Pierre who said, "You can't
Mhm.
exercise your way out of a bad diet." And that's so true.
Yes.
I've always remembered that. So if you're not
Yes.
eating well, sleeping well, all of those things which I'm assuming that you have in your
Yes, big time.
program, because
Yes.
without sleep, without enough water, without enough whatever, you can't really feel
That's right.
good about what you're doing.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's so true. And I'll add on to that. You also can't willpower or white knuckle
Right.
yourself to do the nutrition. Because if you're
That is so
doing,
true.
willpower is finite. And that's why we beat ourselves up. We're like, I know better. It's not a
Mhm.
lack of information, Lisa. I mean, let's face it,
I
we can
know.
Google anything and
It's
get
so true.
information.
But it's confusing though, Clarenda, like, and this is why I think your
Absolutely.
program is so amazing because you take the confusion out of it. Um, it is confusing because and I know a little bit about health, but I look at stuff and I'm like, "Oh my god, what am I
Mhm.
supposed to do
Mhm.
here? More
Mhm.
protein, more vegetables, more
No
water. No, you don't
protein,
need that much water." Um, you know, anyway. Yeah.
no meat, lots of meat, like
Right.
all of that.
Yes,
I know. It's overwhelming and it's
it is.
frustrating. And here's the thing though, I don't have like a cookie cutter approach. It's very individualized.
Mm.
So again, using the scientific process, which is very simple when we look at it, we
Mhm.
start to look at what's working for Lisa. How's your body responding?
Mhm.
Depending on where you are in your hormonal cycle,
Mhm.
the whole phase of perimenopause and
Yes.
premenopause and menopause, all of that
And then
changes.
post it does,
So,
and it changes
w-
within too
yes. So when we
during
have that,
sorry,
yeah,
yeah,
that's okay. When we have that knowledge,
yeah.
then we can then integrate it, try it, and gain wisdom.
Mm.
And so I have people who are vegans in it. I have people who like more protein. I have people
Mhm.
who want to extend their fasting. I call it extended fasting,
Mhm.
not intermittent
Intermittent
fasting,
fasting.
because I help women reset their hunger hormones. Once
Mm.
we do that, we can rely on ghrelin, leptin, insulin. We can rely on those. They're balanced. So then we actually know when we're hungry. We can actually use a hunger scale very simply and it be accurate. People who've tried it
Okay.
in the past, if their hormones are out of whack, they're not getting true signals. So that's
Right.
that's what makes everything else easier, I think. And my clients tell me the same thing. That and the mindset is huge.
The mindset is huge. Do you work with people, like, in groups, Clarenda, or individually, or both?
Both, both.
Both.
So
Okay.
I have like a VIP option. I have a lady from New York in that right now where
Mm.
we're
Nice.
meeting one-on-one individually because there are times there's people have things that, maybe they don't want their privacy out there because they have a certain persona, they have a certain
Mhm.
image they need to maintain, and maybe they're not into the vulnerable stages to be able to talk, or
Right.
maybe they just want all the focus on them, want 45 minutes to
Yeah.
have a cheerleader and someone who's going to
Right.
be looking from an outside perspective because we often can't see when we're
Mhm.
in the middle of
This is
something.
so true. Mhm.
So, but she also be as a VIP has access and into the group coaching as a group.
Mm. Mhm.
And then others will choose one-on-one without having the group, and
Mhm.
others will choose the group only. So
Right.
it's just I get like to, I don't just like send someone the link. I'm like, let's get on a call. I
Mhm.
give 20 minutes free because I want to know what the individual
What's yeah.
needs and wants. If they want a quick fix, then I say, this isn't the
This
program
is
for
not
you.
it.
Don't waste your money with me if you want a quick
Mhm.
fix. If you want a lasting fix, I'm your coach. I'm ready for you.
Right.
So,
Awesome.
yeah.
So you kind of I think, well, we didn't fast forward, but you kind of went, this has evolved for you, the
Mhm.
Feel Mind and Body program, as,
Yes.
like,
So
putting
when
together.
when a challenge or a problem comes up in our lives, instead of
Mhm.
thinking and letting it weigh us down, I like to say, "Okay, what's this trying to tell me? What's my
Mm.
next step? What's my next level of evolvement? Where am I gonna go
Right.
with this?" So for me, how I come back to how I discovered life coaching to begin with.
Yeah.
First of all, as a nurse, and especially in mental health, I would have thought, "I don't need life coaching." Like,
Right.
I know the brain, I know all of this stuff, right? Because we
Mhm.
have a certain ego or pride that pops up
Yes.
consciously or unconsciously, but my whole world was shaken, as you may remember, 8 years ago now, 8 years ago, just this past week, if I think about it,
Mm.
um, and had to go through a divorce. So it was a long divorce, but
Mhm.
at the time, I was so, shell-shocked maybe and devastated,
Mhm.
and my friend Dom, who you just, I think, had on
Yeah.
your podcast,
Yeah.
she had a plus one that I could be invited that she gave to me to come and join a life coaching weekend that was new to her as well.
Okay.
And so we went, and I was like, "Whoa." It was local. I
Mm.
was like, "Whoa, this is amazing. This is crazy. I didn't know this before."
Mm.
And it was a whole other way of looking at it. It was outside, like, the traditional health model that I knew as a nurse. And
Okay.
so that was my beginning step. And then from there, I went on with Brendan Bouchard and I went on with the life coach school, which is Brooke Castillo and
Okay.
all of that. But it was my part of my evolvement. Now I look back. So something that felt so devastating, like the divorce,
Mm.
it happened. Now I'm working with Dr. Trivedi, and he
Okay.
says, instead of thinking, life is happening for me, not against me, that's one way,
Right.
which is good. Although that does kind of put you in a bit of the ego when you're in there.
Mhm.
When you
Mhm.
can come to life is just happening along the way. It's not getting
I like
anywhere.
that. Yeah.
That comes from gratitude within. So I
And
can
also,
look
what
back
can you
now.
learn from each situation?
Absolutely. There's
Mhm.
benefits and drawbacks to everything in life because that's just the way it is if we look for them. But
Yeah.
often all we can see is the drawbacks. When we
Right.
come to see the benefits of it, which might not be right at that moment, I
No,
couldn't have
I was
found
gonna say,
any.
sometimes it's later when you have a little bit more
Absolutely.
perspective. Yeah, when you look
Absolutely.
back.
Yeah. I can remember one of my girlfriends saying to me when this all happened at first, like, "I'm so excited for you." And I looked at her like she had 3 heads. I'm like, "What the heck? You're excited
Mm,
for me?" And then she had her reasons why, which I won't share here. But
okay, okay.
that looking back now, I'm thankful for her and saying that
Mhm.
because even though I was, like, almost appalled that she could think that
Right.
or say that, I look back now and it's like, yeah, I could not
Mhm.
see any benefit, and that's okay. Not to judge, compassion, of course I didn't at
Right.
that, but
Yeah.
now I look at because of that, I've helped probably thousands,
Mm.
I don't know now, of
Yeah, but
women, like, through the podcast, which is free, through my free
mhm.
course, through my paid course, through just conversations like this or over coffee and
Right.
family members, I wouldn't have had like, these are gifts, I think, that come through life as we, evolve, as we take
Evolve.
on a challenge and not just hide. I wanted to just pull the covers up over my head. I
And
really
do
did,
you
and stay
and
there.
so do you think so before your marriage ended, and I wanna say this in a respectful way, or,
Mhm.
like, do you think are you saying that the divorce sort of propelled you into this other phase of your life, I guess? Because in the
Right.
marriage, it wasn't as
Yeah, it's
am I
hard
saying
to
that?
say if I think I was in a comfy state,
Mm.
even if it
Oh,
was
when
a
you were
little.
talking about being uncomfortable.
Yeah, yeah,
So
it
the
put me
divorce was uncomfortable, of
big
course.
time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Mhm.
And I think when we get in a comfy state too, we can
Yeah,
just kind of,
stay there.
yeah, what's a coast along maybe is the word.
Mhm,
We were
mhm,
just
mhm.
coasting, even though I felt
Yeah,
disconnected in so many ways, uh,
mhm.
sense now, I couldn't figure out why it was disconnected at the time,
Right.
but, life was still good,
Mhm,
and we weren't one to argue and fight or,
mhm.
abuse and none of that stuff at all. So
Right,
I would always come back to, the glass half full. Well, this is the benefits of it. Like I could
right.
see that while I was in it. So I
Mhm.
wonder, maybe I would have got into life coaching, maybe not. I have no idea.
So was this the pivot for you? Is this
Y-
I think we
y- Yeah,
talking
I
about
think.
pivoting, like, from nursing into
Mhm,
now what you're doing, which is sort of your life's desire or
mhm.
purpose because yeah. Is
And
that
even
kind of a
in my
pivot?
it is, and
Mm,
even I'm pivoting again
mm,
because slightly, like, because
mhm,
I wanted to prove the program that you can lose weight and maintain, like,
mhm,
without exercising. Not that
mhm,
it's not good for you, like, even in my
mhm,
modules, but, it's there, but I wanted to make sure what I was saying I always wanna practice what I preach.
mhm.
So, I barely worked out for, like, 2 years,
And
like,
that's not
barely.
like you.
No. It was freeing in
Wow.
a way because I
Wow.
took that time and, put it into my business, but
Mhm.
I used all the tools and the tactics that I teach, and I've maintained. I only fluctuate like 2 pounds, maybe 3 if it's, like, Christmas time, and
Wow.
so and we could go on a whole other podcast, could be about the scale, and I'm actually
Mm.
gonna talk about that, I think, on next week's podcast
Okay.
a little bit,
Okay.
um, but yeah, so now though, now because of all the anti-aging and because I've got that and I
Mm.
can feel solid about that, I'm going back more into the weights. Just started with
Mm.
creatine again. I haven't taken creatine in years and years
Okay.
and years. And so of course my weight's up a little higher. Now it makes perfect sense, but we don't make it mean anything. We just look at the facts. And
Okay.
because it's holding on to more water and I'm building
Mm.
more muscle. I'm looking at my muscle composition, not my f and watching my
Right.
fat
That
go
makes
down
sense.
again. So,
I
yeah.
think I think it's more for me, I've always looked at how do I fit in my clothes.
Mhm.
That's
Yes.
just
However, you that is good, but
mhm.
knowing your body composition is also really important,
Also
Lisa,
okay.
because and knowing your visceral fat, which is the fat all inside that you
Mm,
can't grab. It's that
mhm.
fat, because I've had people 110 pounds, 105 pounds, skinny fat. So,
Mhm.
yes, they feel good in their clothes, but when we did their visceral fat, it was very unhealthy inside.
So
So,
this is what you do in your program. So do
not that, that's what I do more in my one-on-one that we
one-on-one.
that.
Okay.
However, I
Mm.
am looking at in the future, I know there's gonna be the next level. I have the
Okay.
name for it and everything, but
Oh,
all of that
really?
takes time to create. Like, I took
Right.
3 months just to create the Feel Light, Mind, and Body program, like 3 months devoted to it. Sticky notes everywhere, like, "What
Right.
okay, this journey, what does she
Mm,
need next?" And then moving it around. And so it's always fun because in, a coaching
mm,
call, they will have a question, and I'm like, "Oh, that's in this week's module coming up." So, it's
mhm.
like they're ready, it's a natural progression, and it doesn't feel so, like, you know, fire
Right.
hose with everything. The modules are dripped every week, so as not to put you in overwhelm. They're
Right.
rich, they're deep, they aren't something you just listen and go, "Oh, I knew that." You know, there's a few things
Right.
in there, but there's so many new things that I've learned that
Oh
that
my
they're
goodness.
loving. So, yeah.
That's amazing. How long is the program? Or
3
does it depend?
months.
3 months.
3
That's a good
months, but right, because it really could be 6 months, but we
right.
do 3 months, and then they always get a discount offer to
Is it
go through it again, and the majority
right,
wanna go through it again
because
because
it works.
it's more integration too. It's just more integration because think about
Mm,
it, we've had years and years of
mhm.
doing what we do, and we've had that habit. It takes some time. That's why if someone wants a quick fix, I'm like,
Right,
I
you're
could help
not that's not it.
I could help you do that, but you're not gonna
Mhm.
like it, and it's not gonna be a great testimony, later
Oh,
when, all of that. So I'm not into the
sounds
quick stuff. I'm
right.
into the sustainability and enjoying life. Like, we have
Mm,
exception eats that we call. So
mhm.
nothing is taboo. So if you're feeling I always say to them, "If you're feeling deprived, let's
Mhm.
talk." I don't want anyone to feel
Right,
deprived. There's no need for deprivation.
right.
It's just it's a whole shift in the way you think about things. And
Mhm.
most people, like, I have foods now, fudge is one thing. I now am so aware, I have been for quite a few years now, of how it feels like somebody has just injected me with a narcotic or with a, tranquilizer, and so I'm no good
Mm,
for nothing. So I've made the decision that I've had enough fudge for the rest of my life. I don't need
right.
any more. Do I still want it in the moment? Yes, but all I have to think of is how do I wanna feel?
How do you
Literally,
wanna
it hits
feel?
me a half
Mm,
hour later. So Cora's, I can go in there now and go buy that fudge that's sitting there and go, "Whew, don't want that, I want my energy today."
right.
And it doesn't feel deprived, it feels really nurturing for me and empowering.
Yeah, that's amazing. I like that. That's happening to me with sleep a little bit.
Mm,
I'm needing more sleep, and for a long time I ignored it. And then when I
yes.
started to get it, like actually go to bed early, um, and I'm getting the sleep and I'm feeling like good. I don't have a slump in the
Mm,
day. And I thought,
mhm.
oh, all right.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's sort
Yeah,
of listening to the body, which I think you do, you can, but what are you gonna do with that information? You're gonna listen to
right,
it or you're gonna just ignore it and go through it.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we often
It's
resist it. I know for me, I resisted sleep as well because it was like, I wanna do this, or I wanna get this done, or I might miss
yeah,
out on something. And then it's just flipping that script to, I'm gonna miss out on feeling energized tomorrow. And now
yeah.
I look forward to it. I love my nighttime routine. I love
Mm,
it. I go to bed with such gratitude because I it's a practice now.
right.
So, and how we go to bed, what we're thinking about and how we go to bed is how we're gonna wake up.
Exactly. Yeah, this is true.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and I've started to, I think, put my phone away a lot more.
Mhm.
That's another habit that
Yeah, and
interrupts certain things without realizing it.
oh my
Yeah.
gosh, yeah, and I mean, we all are. It's such an unconscious way because our neural
Mm,
pathway is so established of, "Oh, a ding, reach." We don't even really think about it. So
we're
I
just
have to put it out of sight. If it's in
yes.
sight, I'm on there even with all the best intentions. So that's kinda
Mhm.
like I think of it as a guardrail I put up so it keeps me
Mm,
from going off what I really want. So, and I still sometimes I still do because I'm like, "Well, I haven't got on for a while, I wanna scroll." But on the nights when I have that right before going to bed, I
right.
sleep score. I track my sleep.
Oh, yeah, you
So
have an Aura ring. That's
yeah.
right.
So I track my sleep, and sure enough, I'm not getting the
Yeah, going
right
to sleep.
combination of REM and the deep sleep. So
Mhm.
I'm like, "Hmm." So every time, instead of, like, getting all mad at yourself, you're like, "Okay, good to know, good
For
reminder
next
again.
time.
Let's keep
Yeah.
going."
So, Clarenda, how long have you been doing the Feel Light Mind and Body program? How many years?
That I had get certified as a life coach,
Mhm.
like 2 weeks before COVID hit.
Oh,
So,
wow.
yeah, so that so that pivoted me on
Mhm.
what I thought I was going to be doing with the life coaching, like
Mhm.
more in person, because I had been doing in person,
Right.
sitting here in my home with people
Mm.
for that year while I was going through the training as practice.
Mhm.
I was doing it for free. I just wanted to really start to build
Mhm.
this skill set.
Right.
And some said, no, I want to pay you. I want to keep going. This is amazing. You know,
Mhm.
some people with their relationships, we were doing a lot with relationships
Mhm.
because, of course, people were drawn to what I had gone through and how do
Mhm.
you remain so positive? Well,
Mhm.
I'm not, yes, positive is good, but it's more balanced because I didn't want to feel all positive about everything that happened. And I didn't want to feel all negative. I want to find the balance
Find the
because
balance.
balance keeps you from the big highs and the big lows. It just keeps you
Mhm.
on that even, solid, grounded, being able to, be out of your emotion and more into your intellect, all of those things.
And being,
So,
like, authentic and real, because I think feeling positive all the time, is that toxic positivity. I think, you
yes,
can't feel that. I mean, you
correct.
can, but you have to go through whatever you have to feel whatever emotion in order to go
Exactly.
through it so you can come out on the other side. But
Absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely. Otherwise, too, you look like you are, like, unattainable, like, "Oh, what she has is not even possible." And while I
Right.
never got on and ditched people, I never got on and, "Woe is me." I wanted to make sure
Mhm.
there's a saying that I don't know who said it, but I love it, is to talk about something too soon, like on social media especially,
Mhm.
when their wound is still oozing, is not
Mm.
wise. You wanna make sure it's
Right.
stabbed over, and so it's not
Take a
oozed.
pause. Yeah.
Then you can
Yeah.
talk from wisdom, and then you're not into
Mm.
all about what's happening. I always looked at, "How can this help some other woman?" Like,
Right.
that's how can I add value? How can I help give them hope and shift from
Mm.
that helpless feeling that I knew very well,
And those
from
are
my
all
mom and then from
beautiful.
me.
I was gonna say these are all beautiful questions, and I just wanna go back to your mom a bit. So you watched as a little girl, and did you end up helping your mom? Was she one of your
Yes.
clients? Aw,
Uh,
yeah,
yes, however, it felt too late by the
too
time I
late.
got
Okay.
this knowledge. Now,
Mhm.
because she can't retain, so with dementia, she's so
Okay.
great in the present, but 6 seconds later, we just
Right.
loop. But
Okay.
when I was before it got to this point, before when it was like she forgot what happened yesterday,
Mm.
but she could
Mhm.
remember what happened today,
Mhm.
she came down, she would sit on the couch and I'd watch, and she'd be reading all my books, and she'd be saying, "If I had only known this before, oh my god."
Mm.
And then, we played that podcast of her and I together.
Right.
Oh my gosh, I can't remember how many times. She does never remembers that she's been on it,
Yeah.
but, like, "So, do you think this helped anybody?" Because she's feeling
Aw.
like she said, "I don't feel like I am offering any, I'm no good for nothing some days," is what
Oh,
she'll say, and I'm
yeah.
like, "Oh, mom, you are," and then I'll read, like,
Yeah.
I've I've done live videos before on Facebook with her, and I'll read some of the comments. I'm like, "No, no, no, mom,
Mm.
you're still inspiring people." And she is an
Amazing.
inspiration, but to see
Wow.
mom be so positive and push herself and be her best self for everybody else, but not prioritize herself,
Mhm.
and I was starting to fall in that same
Mhm.
rut without really noticing it. And we get wake up calls. And when I got the wake up call, I was able to go inward and go, okay, we need like a rehaul here. And
Mhm.
let's really figure out your values and your priorities and then how you help others. We have to help ourselves first. If we're
That's
not
so
doing it,
true. No,
how can we really effectively and authentically help others?
you're so right. It's sort of filling yourself up, and then you help from the overflow. That's when
Yes.
you can help
Yeah,
others.
that's right.
I learned that through Laura McPhee, who was on another guest on my podcast.
I'll
She's
have to
a
listen.
theta and energy healer. Yeah, she was earlier on.
Mhm.
And she's someone I went to after a sort of a disaster or whatever. I can't think of a better word, but
Yeah.
after yeah, I needed a pivot, I needed a reset, and working with her really helped. But it was yeah, you cannot because I think I was a giver and a pleaser too,
Yes,
and I was
yes,
pleasing from empty. A
yes,
lot of times from
exactly.
an empty place, and nothing was filling me back up. So then I learned it wasn't selfish to do that
No.
first. It was actually, yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah, I say the
And
same. You wanna pour from the saucer
yeah,
rather than from the cup if
from the
possible,
cup.
but at least keep your cup full, because I
And
can't
keep
always
oh,
pour from my saucer,
no,
you know?
sometimes you need a reserve and you need to,
Mhm.
yeah, to keep the cup full.
Yes. But
Yeah.
sometimes there's no overflow, but I can still give from my full cup. It's just I've gotta be very aware that I'm doing it, because that's life, that's realistic,
That is,
right?
you're right, and I think a lot of
When
women fall into that category where they, we're so, you have families or whatever, even if you don't have children, you're still in that
Yeah,
role of giving, 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 and then you
yeah,
need to, then you burn out.
that's right. And
Yeah,
for me, having the nurse, I was the nurse to the
you're
community, I
right.
was the nurse to both
Yeah,
sides of the family, everything, and I could
right.
give, 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 give then, but then suddenly it felt like,
Mm,
"How can I give?" 'Cause my cup wasn't full enough, "How can I give in a different way?" And that's when I
mhm,
started to build into myself and getting more tools in my toolbox, knowing that maybe I can't give as much as I want now, but I'm setting myself up, I'm equipping
right.
myself, and I think that's with women getting in
Mhm,
their healthiest state. If they
mhm,
can just think, it doesn't mean I have to dismiss everybody else, but I have to include myself in the priorities. So it's not everyone else is a priority. It's we are the priority. They're
right.
responsible for themselves. I can inspire them. And when women start taking
Mhm,
care of themselves and get their health, there's less resentment, there's less
mm,
judgment, there's more love, there's more connection. I even I think it was just maybe 3 weeks into the course, I had one lady before get on our group coaching call, and she said we were talking about our wins, and she said, "I undressed in front of my husband for the first time in I don't know how long."
mm,
And she goes, "I didn't even realize it." And he's like, "Whoa, I haven't seen this, in a while."
right.
And I knew she had shared how much she had lost and how much she wanted to
Oh,
lose. And, she had only lost 5 pounds. And
but
she
that
had
was enough to make her
this
feel better. Yeah.
right. So I asked in the group coaching call, knowing this, but I'm like, "And do you mind sharing how much you've lost?" And she laughed and she goes, "Only 5 pounds." She was like, "Not enough in my past self to think, oh, I can now,
Right.
do this." So the ripple effect on the relationships and the connectivity is just those are just the benefits, the added benefits. So yeah,
And
it's so much
also,
more than about our weight, Lisa. Like weight is
yeah.
literally just a symptom. And it's a symptom of what we're thinking, it's a symptom of what we're feeling, it's a symptom of how we're valuing ourselves and our health
Mhm,
and our future self. I talk a lot about our past, present, and future
mhm.
self and merging
Okay,
them together.
okay. Um, I wanna get back to that, but I just thought of something as you said,
Mhm.
this woman.
Yeah.
It's sometimes too, I think as women, we don't celebrate anything.
Mhm.
We don't celebrate
Mhm.
even the little wins, like that for her was such a big,
Yes,
you know what I mean? To celebrate that
absolutely.
and recognize, because we just keep doing instead of
That's
celebrating.
right. I
But
actually have a free tool. I think it might
mm,
be, I don't know if we have it set up on the website yet, but if not, if anyone reaches out, I can give it. It's micro wins. So it's a tracker. And it's
okay.
not just putting your wins. We look at what is the thought that you had and what is the feeling, what is made
Mm,
the action, so that we can start realizing and start to build that belief muscle of, oh, when I think this way, or when I do this thing, or when I feel this way, here's my win. It's worth doing.
right, right. So Clarenda, you also mentioned you'd had a little bit of a free program and that. I think we talked
Mhm.
about it before we press record, but some people can do that so they get an idea of maybe
Yes.
what your full program is like. And do you want to talk about
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, and of course, it's one of the first programs I did because I wanted to lead off with that and giving value.
Right.
So I kind of when I look back, I kind of cringe a little bit at my videos.
Ah,
But it's real and people are still saying, "Oh my gosh,
yeah.
that was so helpful." So I still am
Yes.
keeping it on there. I'm not gonna be all critical of myself.
Is that on
So
your
it's
website?
called
Okay,
it
go ahead.
is.
Sorry.
It is. I'm pretty sure it is. I often have linked it to my podcast in the
Okay.
descriptions or the free consult because those are 2 things I love to just share. But
Hmm.
it's basically called 5 steps so your clothes feel looser.
Ooh, love
Yeah.
it. So,
And
okay.
so we find out your why in there, like your true why, and
Hmm.
we just go through it. So it's 5 videos, just short. I think they're like
Hmm.
from 3 to 8 minutes, maybe, because I like bite-sized pieces so that we can
Right.
absorb it and integrate it. And then there's a guide sheet for each one. Because again,
Okay.
integration is huge. We don't want to just add more information without like thinking about it and applying it to
Doing
how
it,
it
yeah,
works for us. So
right.
yeah.
That's amazing. So, and then, so if people want to reach out to you, like to work with you, you said you have a free intro call kind of thing.
Yeah.
Oh, you just froze there. Oh, you're frozen. You still there? Hmm.
Yep,
Uh-oh.
I'm here.
There.
I'm here.
Sorry, you froze there for as soon as
Yeah.
I asked you. Sorry about that. I've never had that before, but
Yeah.
that's
No, and
okay.
you didn't freeze. I could see you doing all your
Right.
things and
Yeah.
talking, so you might hear
So,
me talking too in there.
so I don't think we heard anything you said as you were
Okay,
frozen.
probably not. Probably
Yeah.
not. Okay,
Yeah.
so the best way is to go to www.clarenda's Empowerment
Mhm.
Coaching, I think. No, clarendasempowerment.com.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, and on that, right at the very top in the header, they can do the free consult right there.
Okay. Right there.
So
And then the 5 steps would be
I think then on the header, I should have been looking at this ahead of time, but
that's okay.
courses. I
Okay.
think
And is
there's a
it there?
part for courses, and I think the free 5 steps would pop down from that. If not, they can reach out to me, Clarenda
Okay.
Price.
Mhm.
Love to have connections with other women on Facebook, both my
Right.
personal page, and I have a Facebook page,
Okay.
business, Clarenda's Empowerment Coaching too, and
And
Instagram and
okay.
LinkedIn.
Right on. Okay, all of the usual places.
And new on YouTube, which again, it's
Right.
this
Okay.
video thing. I love being on with you, but when it's just me and the camera, I'm like, "Ugh." But
Ah,
again, it's to get over ourselves, it's part of my growth. So that
yeah.
I'm new to YouTube, so I'd love if anyone wants to
Okay.
subscribe to
Yeah, I'll subscribe to you
get
because I want the
going.
same. I want
Yeah.
people to
Yeah,
subscribe
and
to
I'll
my
do.
page.
I think I
Um,
am too.
okay, good. Do you have specific times where people start, or is it like they start whenever they're ready?
I used to have it so that it was spring. I think we did one in January, spring, and fall. But what
Right.
I'm finding and why I changed everything on the back end
Mm,
is now you can sign up at any time because I
mm,
believe
when
I
you're
thought
ready.
it was a barrier to others and they'd be like
Mhm.
waiting and I'd give them the free
Mhm.
course and they were waiting and I'm like
Mm,
that's wasted time. Life is too short, our health
mhm,
is too short. So I've
mhm.
revamped it also people can start now. When it's ready,
Okay.
when they're ready, they can start now and
Okay.
they join in and there's a richness of having a mix of people in different like I have women who've been through it 2 to 3 times and they add a
Right.
different value to it. And
Right.
people who've been hesitant of, "Oh, I don't know about a group coaching call."
Mm.
One, they can do one-on-one, but the group, everyone ends up saying that's their favorite night of the week because we're
Right.
real. We're just real
Real,
women.
and you're meeting other women, yeah,
And
like-minded. Yeah,
yeah, and they
or in
suddenly go, "Oh, it's
yeah,
not just me that struggles with that. Oh, I'm not."
right.
They can stop the judgment of realizing, "Oh, I
Mhm,
teach the brain science." Once you realize that, "Oh, this is just literally what my brain
mhm.
does, and this is how I can like little hacks to shift that." Even for like I help people deal with urges, and we have a brain
Oh,
hack for that, so that when you feel the urge, you don't have to resist it. You don't have to white knuckle it. You can allow it to be there and just
mhm,
let it move because it's just an emotion. Like it's just a
right.
feeling, having that urge to do something. Um, so yeah, that's
Mm,
why I want people to be able to join in at any time and not to fear being in a group. It's so confidential. Everything's private in there. And then there's always
mm,
a replay for people who can't join because I
right.
have people in different time zones from the West
Yes.
Coast to New York to Louisiana and here, but it's still
Well,
small and intimate.
that's the beauty, I guess, of c after COVID, a lot of this
Yes.
virtual stuff is so it's mainstream now. At first, it was like,
Yes.
a shocker.
Exactly. People of
Yeah,
all ages know how to use Zoom now.
yeah,
So
this is true.
that was a real benefit for me pivoting and doing things online.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Um, okay, I wanna ask you a couple questions that I've kind of asked all my guests at the sort of towards the end, and if there was anything else you wanted to say, we could have some space for that too. But
Yes.
one of them is, what makes you feel most alive?
Oh, that's a good one. What makes me feel most alive? There's so many things. From I mean, from can I give you like my business and
You
my
can
personal kind of?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
So
Yes.
what came to mind first of all, business is when women say, actually feel so much lighter. Thank
Mm,
you. Like, I don't feel that heaviness anymore. When I see that transformation within, or when they say, losing weight was great, but the emotional, the mental weight that I
mm,
lost is worth way more than my
oh,
physical weight, even,
ah,
you
oh,
know? So
yeah.
that would be my favorite for my business. In personal, what makes me feel most alive, oh, it's probably just being out in nature, and
Mhm,
just I'm in such gratitude. I'm just, like, looking up and going, like, "God, you're amazing. Oh my gosh, you created all
mhm,
this." And I know everyone
mhm.
has different beliefs, but I'm being authentically
Yeah,
me here. And
yes.
just coming to, the energy, the energy out in
Mm,
the negative ions, all of those things is so amazing. Putting my feet in the ocean and on the ground and
mhm,
getting some earthing in, like, all of that
mhm,
shifts. It's all part of our health.
mhm.
And to me, our health is our greatest wealth. And there's nothing that, because when we're healthy, we're connected, we are energized,
Feel good, yeah, I
we're
agree.
not out of worry, like we know we can get down and up without a problem. We're not gonna,
Mhm.
we can keep up with kids and grandkids, and we can keep up with friends and all of those things. And that's part of feeling alive and enjoying life to its fullest.
Amazing.
I also guess I feel alive when I'm learning.
Oh,
Because
that's amazing.
when we're learning, we're growing, we're
Right,
expanding, we're not just stuck in a stagnated
and
state.
feeling and when you're willing to go, like, feel a little uncomfortable, like you said, I love how you said that because it's true. There is
Yes.
always growth there. If you
Yeah,
can get used to feeling in that you're learning something. Whenever you're learning something new, it's uncomfortable.
yeah,
So
yeah,
if you
it
can get
is.
used to being in that stage because it's not bad, you know that it's actually
Mhm.
something good is happening. And
Yep,
then when you've
yep,
learned something that, then you can move on to something else. So if you get used to that space, then you can keep going. That's amazing.
that's right. Another way
Uh,
you could say that is, would you rather be
mm,
comfortable now and
mm,
uncomfortable later?
mhm,
Or would you
mhm.
rather be a bit uncomfortable now? Because face it, it's just a bit
Yeah,
uncomfortable, it's not
a bit.
crazy.
No.
So that you can be comfortable later, because
Mm,
all of that compound effect, like what you're doing today and
mhm.
tomorrow and the next day, is creating our future self.
This is so true. Okay, thank you for that. And one more question for you.
Okay.
Um, Soul's Kitchen, so ingredients. So what would be your favorite ingredient in life? It doesn't have to be a
Mhm.
food, it could be, or just something that comes to mind.
It's absolutely, it's love slash gratitude, because they're both the
Ah,
same. Love,
ooh,
gratitude, and connection are like my
love it.
three main things,
I love it.
because from that, everything else, yeah, it's just, I love it.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. Thank you,
Thanks.
Clarenda.
You're
Was
welcome.
there anything else that you would like to talk about before I think we're coming to a very
Yeah.
flowy
No.
conclusion? I think people know how to find you, they know what you do, we know how you made your decisions to do what you I think it was always in you, it sounds like it was always there,
Yeah.
but as
And I
you
don't
grew.
I think for people to know too, I don't think it's just one set thing. Like, a lot of times
No.
people come to me and say, "What is my purpose in life, Clarenda? I want to help. Can you help me find my purpose?" And
Mm.
I say, "What if your purpose is simply loving those around you?" Like, I
Oh,
think we often are
mhm.
hard on ourselves and think it has to be this great big thing. But
I
again, that's
agree.
why I think love, connection, gratitude, if you
Yeah.
have those in your life, you're obviously living in your higher values, or
Mhm.
else you wouldn't feel it. And that is your purpose. Our values lead to our identity. I do like a three-part series on helping people get clear on their values and their
Mm.
identity, and then their purpose slash mission slash vision. And
Right,
it's
I
been
love that.
empowering. It's been very empowering for professionals as well as just on a personal level. But
Or
the
it's
one
like
thing I thought, oh, go ahead.
no, I was gonna say, who do you wanna be today? And then
Mm,
do everything that aligns with that, and then don't do whatever else. I guess that's what was coming to my mind.
100%. Or if you do the whatever else that you're not supposed to be doing in your
Yeah.
mind, be gracious with yourself, be
Mhm.
compassionate, and let the inner critic is there for a reason.
Mhm.
Don't dismiss her or him,
Mhm.
whoever you want to, however you want to identify it with. It's like, okay, let's look at it as information, but we can tweak the
Mm.
tone of it. Like, we can
Right.
definitely, but I'm thankful for my inner critic, because sometimes it's like, it's just giving me that little nudge. It's almost like my
Mm.
higher self, if it's got the right attitude,
Right.
to
Yeah.
go, you could do better, tomorrow. So
Yeah.
2 of the questions, a couple of podcasts ago, this would be helpful for your listeners too, is
Mm.
I had 5 questions to ask yourself before going to bed
Okay.
if you want the best sleep. And my clients have listened to it as well, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, I'm using this." Because right now, 2 of the 5 questions I already have on a sheet that they do, but then I
Okay.
added 3 more to it.
Mm.
And
Okay.
just so your listeners know, I tend to keep my podcast short unless I'm doing
Okay.
an interview, because
Right.
it's
It's
these
just
thriving, busy women that tend to be here that are having
right.
success in so many other areas of life, but they're struggling with and overwhelmed with all the weight loss stuff and energy and all of
Okay.
that. So I want to keep it bite sized so we can
Mm.
integrate it. And it's not like, oh, I'll get to that later. No, it's
Right.
between 8 and 20 minutes, usually
Right.
max. If it's me, 8 to 16 is probably
Right.
I think this one coming out this week is like 9 minutes. So
Okay. Well, that's good to
yeah.
know. But
Yeah.
I loved how our conversation flowed, and we're way
Mhm.
past 8 minutes, but that's okay.
No, interviews are good. Interviews I
No,
could do
yeah.
longer. So
I mean, I could talk to you forever, but I really appreciate you being on the show, and look forward to have another idea that I'll talk to you about after we end record and see
sure.
what your thoughts are on that. And yeah, thank you so much, Clarenda.
Thank
Really
you.
appreciate
Thank
you
you.
on the Soul's Kitchen. All right,
Yeah, thank you.
we'll see you soon.
Okay.